Hi everyone, this is Judge Schlackman. I work as a holistic counselor and also as a hypnotherapist and spiritual energy healer. And for this particular video, I'll be speaking about the topic of psychedelics and psychotherapy, looking at healing benefits and also potential health risks. This is a subject I often get asked about. So I've had many conversations over the years exploring these phenomena, and it's something that's not a very simple, good, bad, black and white kind of thing to address. So it's a somewhat complex and nuanced subject where it wouldn't be realistic to say that using psychedelics is good and ideal all the time, or that it's bad and harmful all the time. There are contexts and circumstances where it could be either. It could be beneficial, and it could pose significant risks as well. And that's what I want to address in this fairly short video I'll be presenting on this about. So to begin with, I want to look into the idea of what psychedelics are, how they function to facilitate altered states of consciousness where there is a potential for people to go through some type of a healing process. Psychedelic substances can be plant substances, they can be even substances from funguses or from animals. So there are many different psychedelics that people from different cultures have used throughout history. And in the modern era, of course, they've been synthesized in laboratories such as LSD. Not all of them work in exactly the same way, so people might react or respond differently to different psychedelic drugs. In general, what they are doing is they're kind of disrupting or blocking some type of neurological filtering mechanism that would ordinarily maintain us in our regular waking state of consciousness, where we're focused on our five sense realm of experience and what you would usually call your conscious thought process or perception. Usually we have that sort of filtering mechanism in place via our brain and our body that we're anchored in, so that our conscious thoughts and awareness aren't overwhelmed in a sense by the content of the subconscious mind, and our material perception isn't being disturbed by our perception of non-spiritual realms. Whereas when people use psychedelic substances, often they're able to disrupt, in a sense they can unplug that filtering mechanism so they can more quickly and fully access the spiritual realm or the subconscious realm of consciousness. If you're seeking healing, this can be quite useful, since there's much at a subconscious level that we're kind of suppressing or storing up in some way that we haven't processed or dealt with. So using these types of substances to really kind of quickly get us into a state where we can access those things, where they can come to the surface, can speed up or accelerate our process or journey of healing. It's not that the substance itself is causing or creating healing, it's just bringing us into a state of awareness or consciousness where we have the potential to go through this process of healing that we're seeking. So it helps facilitate the healing the drug or medicine in itself is not creating actual healing. And this is why in most of the traditional cultures where these substances are used, it's part of some type of spiritual ceremonial process. It's seen as something sacred and powerful that needs to be applied in a rather intentional way, not in a random recreational way. So there's usually a preparation process and then some type of guidance or therapeutic support both during and after the experience or the psychedelic journey per se. So that helps increase the potential for beneficial effects for some type of healing to occur as a result of using the substance. Since these substances are chemical compounds that are not normally a part of our body's functioning, they tend to produce some toxic effects with our system. And those effects can vary depending on which type of psychedelic substance. But you do want to be aware that they can present a significant stress to your physical body and its ability to break down and eliminate toxins. It could also disrupt the hormones and neurotransmitter systems, in other words, our body's own chemical balancing mechanisms. Sometimes when you disrupt those things, there is kind of a lasting after effect where it's a challenge for your body to return to its normal rhythm or balance. So that's a potential risk that can be present. And some people might be susceptible to that, others may have no issue at all with that. So it really depends upon the person. If we consider something such as ayahuasca, which is one of the more popular psychedelic brews per se that are in vogue at the moment, that actually disrupts your digestive system. So it causes people very often to be vomiting when they've used the ayahuasca tea. And vomiting in and of itself can have some harmful physical effects if you're doing it frequently especially. But of course it's happening because your body is trying to quickly purge what's there in your digestive tract so you don't get poisoned by it essentially. Now as a part of that purging, it may help you actually purge other things that had built up over time that need to be purged along with what's being generated in the present moment. If we think about different healing arts and practices where something is induced into your system to promote a reaction that leads to healing, well, you could think of homeopathy, where you're given something that you're just exposed to kind of the energetic signature of it to induce a healing reaction. Whereas if you actually ingested that substance in a significant quantity, in some cases it might be extremely harmful or toxic. But by using a relatively insignificant amount of it to trigger your body's awareness so that your body reacts with some type of healing response, that has a beneficial effect. And so in the case of some of the psychedelics, that can occur also, where it induces some type of a cleansing reaction. So not only are you cleansing this acute toxic exposure, but it's triggering your body to start clearing out other stuff. Something similar can happen when people have acute illnesses, something like a flu, where your body is clearing out the residue of the immune response to that infection, but in doing so it's also clearing out some other toxic debris that you had built up from other stresses over time. So those are some potential benefits. However, not everyone's system is in a state or a position of readiness to process things in that way. So for some people, rather than really facilitating a beneficial cleansing, it could actually aggravate toxicity that's built up in their system because they're not able to fully clear it out. Again, everything is sort of individual and not one size fits all. So something that's healing and supportive or beneficial for one person may have a very harmful effect in a certain small percentage of other people that are exposed to it. This is why I encourage people to kind of connect with their own inner awareness, their own intuition, their own decision making about what's going to be best for them, not just to do something because other people are doing it or because a doctor tells you that's what you should do. Sometimes you have to really connect with your own inner being. You have to find what's best for your own unique path. So there's some things that are very valuable for your path that might not be valuable for someone else's path, or vice versa. This is very much the case with psychedelic substances. There are many people who, at least at some point in their journey, are getting great benefit from using them to facilitate some type of healing process. Although even for those who experience breakthroughs and benefits, it's possible to become too attached to that particular substance or that particular method of doing things. And so at some point it might be wise to review what you're doing on your journey to see if it's continuing to be beneficial or supportive, or if it's in some way leading to kind of a dead end or a cul-de-sac, you could say, on your path where it's keeping you from progressing further. With plant medicines, with psychedelic substances, people can become attached to having to use that particular substance to explore the particular states of consciousness that they're seeking, rather than developing non-chemical methods, learning particular disciplines of shifting your own focus of consciousness to get there, in a sense, without any drug or medicine. In the long run, I believe it's valuable and important to develop those other practices, those other disciplines. So even though you might have kind of needed the breakthrough effect that you had from using a plant medicine or similar psychedelic substance, at some point or some stage you may wish to go beyond that to really develop some disciplines of mastering your own state of consciousness, rather than just chemically catapulting yourself there, where in a way you don't have control over it so much while you're under the influence of that substance. For people that have significant medical issues, significant types of allergies or immune imbalances, some of those health issues, you might want to be particularly cautious about using intoxicating substances to bring yourself into an altered state for the purpose of healing. It may actually work okay in be beneficial in some cases, but in other cases there's a significant risk of harm. So you'd want to really get some guidance in preparing yourself physically, making sure there aren't any physiological or medical issues that would cause a significant risk to be present from working with psychedelics. There's a lot of research that's being done at this point in time on combining psychotherapy with psychedelics, with those types of substances. And in that research, of course, there really is a methodical approach, and people are receiving psychotherapy, some form of counseling in combination with using these substances. So the benefits are often very impressive, in part because those who are partaking are receiving some really skilled guidance. So when things are coming up from those psychedelic journeys, when their subconscious traumas and things of that nature are rising to the surface, they're receiving some really skillful help in processing those things, and it's very valuable for them. If you think that you're going to just magically heal merely by consuming a substance, your expectations may not be realized. So it's valuable to prepare well and to receive support that will guide you along as you process whatever may come up. It's also helpful to be aware that when you go into the spiritual realms with your consciousness, if you're in a really anxious or vulnerable state, sometimes you'll attract into your energy some beings or entities that are not so beneficial. Those could attach to you in some way. So you'll want to be mindful of that so that you can clear that away if that does arise, so that you can have some support in keeping your energy field clear and protected, and coming back to be centered and grounded afterwards. It's not uncommon for people that experience psychedelic trips to really have a hard time reconnecting with their everyday life afterwards. It might be a very magical, mystical experience, something that kind of opens and expands your consciousness. But then how do you integrate that into your human life experience afterwards, into your job, your relationships, your daily tasks and all of that? So you really don't want to get too ungrounded where you're almost sort of addicted to being in that enlightened, heightened state, and you forget about living your more grounded, mundane in a way type of human life, where there are important things to learn and gain from just being in your everyday routine. You don't want to try to escape from being human, from having chores, from having everyday stresses or challenges. That's all part of your purpose here, to learn from those things too, not just to spiritually bypass that. So that's another significant aspect of the post-psychedelic journey process, becoming balanced and integrated afterwards. At this point, I think we've covered a few significant issues or aspects of the potential benefits of psychedelics with psychotherapy, with the healing process and some of the potential risks. This is something for each of you to reflect on and explore and choose what you feel is going to be beneficial at any particular point in your personal journey or path. For those that are interested in holistic health and well-being, I would invite you to view some more of my videos on these topics. I also have a website which is phinsights.com. That's phinsights.com. For now, I wish each of you a wonderful day. Namaste.